Good evening, peeps. This is the Purple Ladder speaking. And yes, we're going to talk about Prince and the Netflix documentary. Again, this is episode of Words of Wisdom. And we're going to talk about Prince and the Netflix documentary. Plus, I want to discuss a couple of more documentaries that I saw over the weekend. More likely the Sly Stone documentary and the Luther Vandross documentary. But first, I want you to hit that notification button, like, comment, subscribe. There'll be a video every week, particularly on Sundays and on special occasions. Plus, maybe you'll get one or two. But hit that like and hit that subscribe. Keep those views going. I want to keep growing this channel and just want more viewerships. We're a growing channel and we're trying to keep the legacy of Prince alive. So let's get to it. First off, I want to say I'm a Prince friend. Not a fanatic, and because of the music. We got to keep the legacy alive because of the music. That's who Prince is, and that's who Prince was. A musical genius. And whether you love him or hate him, that's his legacy, and we're here to keep it alive. So let's just get to it. I'm glad that the documentary has been canceled now, as I read the article, as a lot of people have. I didn't want to hear or see a hatchet job. Now, you got a 9-hour documentary. Now that's long, and for certain reasons what you're going to talk about, everything is not going to be good for 9 minutes. 9 hours. I'm sorry, 9 hours documentary. Excuse me. And it's not going to be all good. Now, documentaries about Prince in the past, short ones, TVs, they reveal his bad side. And I done heard a lot of things over my journey with Prince about, the control. He can be an a-hole, working a band tirelessly, real, just working them overdrive. And some of the withdrawingness. But now when you hear a lot of stuff new, when you start getting abusive Prince, which I just don't see that, I don't think he's a woman beater, things like that. Now, you keep that in for long, I'm like, every woman he's been with, he's beat her. No, I don't believe that. And some of the other things in the childhood thing, where his childhood was just horrible, or his father just severely beating him. I don't believe that. I believe that he had not a good childhood to the point where he didn't get along with his stepfather. I think his father was a little bit too hard on him for us, with his music and being distanced himself, for as really sending him away to live with somebody else. But that's not to the point where this guy was, completely on the streets, wasn't taken care of, wasn't nourished. He lived with the Andersons, and Andre Anderson's mother was an angel. And Prince was just with him to himself. Like she said, he was always chasing his music. Her and Andre, they got along during the childhood. Prince was always withdrawing and didn't say much, quiet. So there wasn't no problems. And I know he had the happy moments in his life was music. And you have to remember girlfriends. Kim Upshur couldn't do an interview because she's passed, God rest her soul. And I know that he had a good relationship with her. He ended up in a breakup, and he put it in his music early on. So that's one of his earliest girlfriends. She ended up in the movie Purple Rain, and later on you see the pattern of relationships like, Susan Moonsie. I don't think that was too bad. And one of the love of his life is Susanna Melvoin. I have nothing bad to say about her because so many of those songs was about her. And I truly believe he really loved her. His heart was just broken. She didn't want to be in a situation where she would be controlled not to see her sister. I can understand that. And I know, and I go to Mate. Mate was young. I have mixed feelings about that relationship, but I really think that she loved him. But at the same time, Prince was going on another journey, and he became cold, distant, which I didn't agree with, but I don't believe that it was entirely his fault later on, once he went to become a Jehovah's Witness. But the relationship, a lot of people had to account for that and early on, and you have to blame a little bit on her mother. So, but the Jill Jones situation, I don't know nothing about. Like I said, this was early on, and during that time, whether it was 82, 83, on and off to 86, I don't think it was to that point where where it had to be, I don't know. I'm just gonna say I don't know anything about it, so I can't really speak on it. But in my heart of heart, I don't believe that it really became abusive. That's just my opinion. But Prince, yeah, he's a flawed human being. He had his issues, and some of the people I didn't like him. He didn't treat right people like Brown Mark, Jesse Johnson. The Morris situation was different. Morris could hold his own, Morris Day, but those two individuals that really look for his lead, they admired him, but at the same time, he did not treat him particularly nice. And later on, maybe they made up. Prince wrote a lot of his wrongs later on. And let me go into one more relationship before I go into something else, and that was the Vanity situation. The Vanity situation is all taken care of because Vanity, whatever happened in a relationship, she forgave him. And that situation, it wasn't a real long relationship, and during that time, beautiful woman. And I just think in a time in his life where he was involved with multiple women, and some things just, she loved him, and he gave her that love back, but he didn't give her all his love because he had so many other women. So that situation later on, Vanity never blamed him for anything for us, the tragedies in her life. So they squared that off. So that's why, in particular, for us with the Netflix documentary, I didn't get into that, but yeah, first of all, when you when you writing or you directing a documentary, whatever, you should be a fan of a person. But Edelman wasn't a fan, and so it just don't, like I say, 9 hours, and a lot of it is going to be negative, and plus you get to the autopsies, the photo death scene or whatever. We don't want to see that. So I think that's a good thing. So whoever comes aboard, I wish it was Ava DuVernay, who was the first one to come to do that documentary. I wish she would have stayed on, but like I say, you got 2 years or whatever, 3 years of doing research, whoever it's going to be. And I'm quoting my man Night Child. Shout out to him. Subscribe to his channel. Hopefully that they get it right. Like I said, I want to hear everything, but don't do a hatchet job. It's some bad times in Prince's life, so you want to hear about some of those things. I don't want to put them and say, well, this guy was an angel. This guy was human. He made mistakes, and you want to hear about it. But I think the good outweigh the bad. So let's put that to bed, and I'm gonna move on to 2 documentaries I saw. I'm gonna start with Luther first. That Luther Vandross documentary I saw on Max. Wonderful, wonderful documentary. Luther truly was a genius in vocal arrangements and probably the best background singer of all time. Truly amazing. I'm going to tell you something. I had a few Luther songs. I'm not a big fan, but the women in my family are, and some of the men that, coming from, I got a brother who sings, so you're a fan of that. That was truly amazing. Early career, what he did in the jingles, what he did for Bowie's Young American album, didn't know that. The guy was truly amazing. A great producer and writer. I know he produced the Aretha Franklin Jump to It. That album, that's Luther sound. And truly amazing. Like I say, the private life, I know all about that. So, but I think that was part of probably his eating and things like that because of him being lonely. So that situation, when they talked about that near the end, I appreciate that, because most of the documentary was all positive, and that Luther was a positive person. So I truly enjoyed that one. Let's get to Sly Stone documentary. Amazing. I'm a huge Sly Stone friend. Another one of my musical heroes. During those early days, like I say, people like Curtis Mayfield and him, I truly appreciate genius. And Sly was a genius. He put funk in the forefront. James Brown is Godfather of Soul and really put funk on his back, but this is the guy who brought it to the mainstream. He's the funk pioneer. And his sound was truly amazing. To mix rock and roll, jazz, a little bit, he mixed so many genres. That's what Prince got a lot from him, whether it was the band, stage presence, the kicking, some of the tones of the voice, the way he produced, and even his fashion. You look at some of the outfits Sly wore, Prince wore some of the same outfits. You look at Prince's wardrobe, is either Sly or Jimmy that he get a lot of the fashion parts from. So truly amazing. But the sound, one thing that I learned that I didn't know when he wrote Family Affair, I did not know he was one of the first to use that drum machine. Wonder where that sound came from in the early 70s. What was that, 71 or 70? That was amazing what he did. And I'm thinking that came from early synthesizer or keyboards or something. Man, that is amazing. And like you say, the drum machine sounded so weird. It didn't have any type of tone or bass in it, and he manipulated it. Truly genius on Sly as a producer. But you gotta remember, early on, he was a radio DJ, so he knew what he was doing. We get to the drug situation. Everybody know he was open with that. Later you see in his career, that messed up a lot of his momentum going forward. But sometimes you only need 3 or 4 years to make your mark, and that's what he did. The 3 years or the 4 years he had on top, he made some of the greatest music. And even in between like 72, 73, you hear If You Want Me to Stay. The bass line, I thought that was Larry Graham, but it was somebody else. But that band was truly amazing with his brother, Freddie Stone, and his sister, and Cynthia Robinson, and the drummer, and Larry creating the slap bass. He inspired a whole new generation in the 70s. This is why I say when you enter the 1970s, it's the greatest decade for music because it's the cornerstone of modern music. It built the 80s, the rap, all the samples came from the 70s because it was so original, so much creativity, so many different genres. Like I say, Miles Davis doing what he did, fusion, jazz and everything. And he was inspired by this. So it's truly and simply amazing. So this music still lives on. I'm a 70s child, so I'm still finding gems and music that I never heard in the 70s now. So that documentary is truly amazing. So I'm going to always be inspired by that. Questlove, shout out to Questlove. He did an amazing job. You want to see documentaries like this. That's why I say no matter what problems that person had, it's just like Rick James that was a great documentary. This is what you aspire to. You're going to get the negative, but the positive got to outweigh the negative because they did so many good things. So shout out to Questlove again. Wonderful job, my brother. And that's it for me. I'm going to have more videos, words of wisdom. I'm going to continue to do. So I don't know I think this is episode 4, maybe 5. Episode 4. We're going to continue with this journey. Like I say, like, subscribe, and hit the notification. You get that video to the purple ladder. Yeah, and like I say always, God bless. And I'll see you in another video. Peace.